I don't know if you saw this, Nick, but I did see that Kyler Murray wasn't I'm pretty sure it was OTAs. He
Yep.
hasn't worked out with the Cardinals yet this offseason. So what's going on there? Why haven't the NFL or the media covered that? Is Kyler Murray unhappy with the Cardinals? Are they not
Exactly.
treating him right? What is going on? He's not there. Yeah, he's worked out with a couple players in the offseason, but what does that mean? I don't think he's coming back. I think he's going to hold out. I'm kidding, people. Relax. I'm not the mainstream media. I'm going to let you know what's happening with Kyler Murray and the NFL and quarterbacks as a whole, because this is what has happened. Kyler Murray's not at the Arizona Cardinals OTAs so far. I mean, he'll probably be there, but from the article that I read, which was by Mike Florio, is that he is not there and he believes he should have a say in personnel matters, which to me is a little wild given his short stint in the NFL. But also, he does have a lot of leverage because if Kyler Murray didn't want to, very similar to Aaron Rodgers, very different in where they're at in their careers. But
Yep.
where Aaron Rodgers, he's got a lot of leverage where he can go do other things in life. Kyler Murray can just be like, you know what? I'm just going to go play for the Oakland A's then. He does,
Yep.
and when you see these top level talents that don't need the NFL, but the NFL does need them because they're star players, now you're starting to see the leverage start to switch.
Yep.
So I think you see a lot more quarterbacks want to have a say in personnel matters, and I don't think that's a bad thing because I think if you have a quarterback, I mean, if you have a quarterback who's wanting to say in defensive personnel matters, yeah, go get fucked. But
Yeah.
unless it's
I
like just a
like it.
top cornerback, but if you're an
I like
offensive
it.
quarterback and you want to have a say in like, yeah, I think we should go and get this tight end, or I think we should go and get this wide receiver. Like once again, having a say is not the same as having the end all be all say. So to include these quarterbacks in the conversation, especially like a guy like Kyler Murray, who we've seen him play. He's an athlete and probably going to be your franchise quarterback unless you move away from him. I don't see what's so wrong with saying like, okay, we'll give you a little say this season and then just gradually bring him along more and more into the conversation. Like it doesn't have to be like, okay, you're meeting with all the coaches now this season. It doesn't have to be. I do think we are seeing a shift in the NFL where that might become more and more of a thing. And you are going to be kind of circling back to these essentially like player coaches at the quarterback position, I believe.
I mean, when you're paying a guy $40 million a year, as you're gonna with Aaron Rodgers or someone like that, or a Tom Brady or a Patrick Mahomes, and that number is only going to get bigger, or Russell Wilson, a Dak Prescott. When you're paying these guys $40 million a year, I mean, what, like, yeah, I would think like maybe I should get a say too. Like, I'm making five times what the coach is making. Like, I don't know, why I wouldn't get a say would be my mindset. Kyler Murray, very young. I agree with you. Very young to be like saying that he wants a say in things. But I also think that if I'm being totally honest, I think that the teams you don't hear about in this aspect are the teams that just give the quarterback a say behind the scenes, and they're just
Yep.
good at that relationship. And that's why you don't hear about it. I think pretty much across the board in the NFL, you have the teams that you don't hear about that are in those positions probably just do a good job of keeping them in the loop. Like, think about it. I think Philip Rivers is a great guy. He seems like a good human. But the reality
Yep.
is, I'm sure that that's not the only reason we never hear about this out of like a guy like Philip Rivers during his career. It's probably because the Chargers kept him in the loop on things that were going on. Like, it's probably realistically they just figured it out. I would imagine that the Vikings kind of keep Kirk Cousins in the know of what they're trying to do, which is why you don't hear him having these complaints. I
Yep.
That's my feel on it. Is I don't think that the NFL is set up in the way that I guess the media portrays, where it's like, hey, these guys are so selfish, they want to say in all this, and they
Yeah.
shouldn't necessarily get a say. And like, I think that they just either do or don't. I just think there's some franchises that haven't figured that out yet. Like, you never hear about this out in Denver. You didn't hear about it
Yeah.
with Peyton Manning. You don't hear about it now with Drew Lock and those guys. Elway was a quarterback. Like, he probably
Yep.
keeps them generally in the loop. Like, I don't think it's all that complicated. I'm pretty sure Jerry Jones keeps his quarterback kind of aware of what's going on, because I would imagine Jerry Jones is the type of guy that likes to go hang out with his quarterback every fucking week. Like, I'm pretty sure he's communicating with his quarterback fairly frequently. And so, I just think that what this exposes is teams that don't do a very good job of that, because
Yeah.
agents end up leaking stories like this about their players. That's my take on it. I think, you either are it's sort of a have or a have not thing. You either are a quarterback who has a team that will keep you in the loop, or you don't.
Yep. And here's the other thing. Like this story that we heard about Kyler Murray is is not saying he's holding out of going to camp because he needs to have a say in personnel
Correct.
matters. I just don't think he's been to the voluntary OTAs, and he wants. I'm sure he does want to have a say in personnel matters, but I think he'll show up to camp and it won't be any issue. And then they'll get the personnel matters thing figured out. But I don't necessarily see Kyler Murray holding out from going to camp or anything like that. I just don't. I don't see there if there's any. I don't see a big enough incentive for him to do that. Like he can obviously work on getting a say with personnel matters while he's at camp and things like that.
But I agree
Um,
with you. Like, what is this bias that we're seeing, though? Because I agree with you. It's like, okay, why is the media not all over this? Like,
yeah.
he plays on a good team. Like, he's got like a notable coach. He's got a bunch of
Yep.
other players on the team that are notable players, and all of a
And
sudden,
he's
no
young.
one cares. Yeah, and he's young. He's a star in the league, and all of a sudden, everyone's like, "Oh, he's not at OTAs. Let's not even care." But Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers isn't, and I understand there's other stuff going on. But oh no, this guy over here isn't. This guy over
Yeah.
here isn't. Every year we hear about some guys who aren't at OTAs, and then other guys like Kyler Murray. It's just like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't know, like, what is
Yeah.
that bias? Like, I don't know, like, where does that come from?
Well, I think it comes from this, Nick, and this is all speculation. So I want to say that first, and then I also want to follow that up with I'm not a financial advisor, but this would be my speculation. I believe that the Green Bay Packers inked the deal with the media devil, and they said your team will be great as long as every 12 to 15 years we could just drag your quarterback through the mud and your organization through the
There
mud.
we go.
And by doing that, you'll get another 12 to 15 years of being a solid football team. And you know what? If the Green Bay Packers did make that deal, then you know what? I'm okay with it. But I do think that maybe, and once again, this is speculation. I don't have any sources on this. This is my creative imagination saying that's where that media bias is
Might
coming
have been
from.
some dark arts going on. Might be,
Yeah,
a guy
yeah,
like Brett Favre leaves the team. Dark arts are still in work. Next thing he
yeah,
knows, he's like, I didn't even realize I'm sending photos of my junk to this lady over here. I didn't
yeah.
even know. I go to sleep one night. I wake up the next morning. I mean, there's some magic going on here. Some dark arts.
But
Yeah,
But you know what?
that
Brett
could
Favre
be it.
also the type of guy that these players need to just shut up and play football.
That's
Okay,
that's what they.
that's what I did in my whole career. I just shut up and I played football. I wasn't doing any
I,
off the field activities.
I was not, man. That
I,
could be it. Maybe, it's like the Packers made
right?
that deal, and next thing you know, Brett Favre was plagued with the with just the scorn of just making a bunch of
Yep,
decisions he was apparently not in control of. It's a fascinating
yep.
take.
It is. So and now we see Aaron Rodgers, getting a little bit of the dark arts put on him. I think he's handling much better. He's a little more equipped to handle, the dark arts attacks. But we'll see how it plays out. I think
That's
he might come out of this unscathed or maybe just a wound or two.